From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? We have a special guest with us and looking forward to a great conversation.
I'm doing good, Steve. It's always great when we have a guest, especially a fellow higher ed guest. So I'm looking forward to this. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, our guests are really working for us. We're getting lots and lots of downloads, so we appreciate that and love having interesting guests who have an audience and have great things to share. So, if you haven't caught some of our recent episodes, please do. Lots of great stuff there, and so check those out. So, not to put the pressure on, but without further ado, we have our guest for today. He is Chris Kelly. He's the Senior IT Support Specialist at Creighton University. He's also HETMA Advisory Board Chair. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Very excited to be here and joining you guys. This is definitely a podcast that I listen to and keep updated on, so it's
Oh,
very
wow.
exciting.
Well, we appreciate that. That's you just won us over. So thanks. Thanks for that. And and just
Chris, your check is in the mail.
yes, Chris is a very smart guy, so please follow his lead.
Many zeros in that, right?
So, Chris, when we have a guest, we like to let them introduce themselves and share a little bit about their AV background and of course, highlight things pertaining to programming. But let us know how you got into this wonderful industry.
Yeah, so I've actually only been doing this sort of work for a little over 2 years. Before that time, I had a complete career shift. I had been doing social work for a little over, right around a decade. My master's is actually in counseling with a school specialization. So, like, I could be a licensed K-12 school counselor. Uh, but after a few years at an inpatient mental health hospital, a few years doing child protection, and then a year doing vocational rehab, I just decided I was done with social work. I had IT interests throughout my life. And it was one of those flip of a coin. Do I do it? Do I not do it? But it was really back when I was taking some college classes in high school that I took a Java programming class. I'm like, I don't like programming. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not doing computer science as a degree. So things with the brain, psychology, criminal justice, that became the next way I went with things. And I always had that interest, but I figured to do anything IT related, I had to do computer science. I had to get some sort of a, degree that was based on programming and that sort of thing. So I just never really pursued it, but I always kept that interest. I took classes on like A plus when I was back there. Didn't quite get the certification, but I took classes on it. I also took classes quite a few on Cisco, doing router wars and stuff like that with Cisco switches and just playing around with the networking side. And I loved that hardware side of things. But I just, for whatever reason, the programming didn't quite click with me. Well, after doing social work for a while, I was always kind of the go-to IT person in the office. And so, people would come to me with questions about IT stuff, and I would usually help them. And I was always kind of looking, well, is there a way I can kind of work my way back into that? But I wasn't sure. So about, I don't know, 4 years or so ago now, I decided, well, I have nothing on paper. So let's get something on paper that says I know anything. And I started studying for certs, started with A plus, and after getting A plus, then I started trying to look for jobs that might get me just with that. And when I had actually applied at Creighton, the job description was not super clear about what I would be doing. I just knew that it was IT support, basically. And at that point, I was working on my Network Plus through CompTIA and found out that this job was about the AV stuff in the classroom, not just working on IT, because they're different but the same, ostensibly. And got into the job not knowing much of anything. Once I got accepted for the job, I started working on getting Dante, getting some of the basic Extron stuff. We're a QSys house, so working on some of the QSys trainings, but kept working on my certifications as well, and just realized coming into it that I loved it. Um, a lot of what we have here is we are primarily, we're an Extron house, but we're primarily GCP for a lot of our controllers, with a few of our more technically advanced buildings being in Python. And I looked a little bit at the Python stuff and I'm like, wow, that would be great to know. I don't know that I'll ever make it there. And started playing with more of the GCP. When it comes to our QSys stuff, we don't do anything in Lua. It's all the block in the QSys stuff as well. So that's, not quite as difficult. Uh, but I did take advantage of, after coming here, quickly signing up for computer science classes because I figured, well, we have stuff that's Python and I get to take free classes. So I did get back into taking classes, and I took Python programming, and then the follow up to that was Java again. And but then I kind of stopped taking the programming classes after that point because I realized, yep, I'm remembering parts of why I don't like this. The Python I liked more, the Java not so much, and a lot of the advancing was more Java based. So I kind of stopped doing that and went back into my own kind of training, and that's kind of getting me to where I am. But I'm a real lifelong learner type, so most of my free time is spent learning about something.
Really cool. That's I mean, obviously there's an inherent desire and something that's bringing you to doing what you're doing, and just the fact that you stay at it is really impressive. Um,
Yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead, James.
No, I was just saying, no, that's just similar. I can fully understand. The one thing I kind of find humorous is how college classes, and yes, we are in higher ed here, can help shape that. I didn't do CS. I did IS, Information Systems. And the reason why was I didn't want to take math classes. I was like, and then I find myself doing programming. So I did a little programming in college because most of my information system was more on the business side of things and less on the programming side. And so it was like, but here I am, co-host of Ask the Programmer. I was an AV programmer. Like it just it's humorous, I find.
Everything is very circuitous. You never know exactly where it is going to end up. Um, I mean, at this point, I'm fairly confident with kind of what I do with GCP. I We had GVE for Extron stood up, but a lot of bad data when I started. And so one of my early projects was, okay, I want this to be a worthwhile thing for us. And to do that, I had to go around and basically update almost every controller we had to work better with GVE, because we didn't have output reporting going correctly to GVE. We had some old spaces that were no longer existent. So I just purged it all, cleared out the SQL database, and just started fresh. And I had to learn how to do some of the output reporting for GVE. Gets complicated when you're needing to try and say, okay, some of the if then logic of, if this button is pushed, this room has these displays, so these displays will go to local, and these ones will then need to be on this. So just some of the logic for making sure the output reporting was good, because we realized if we didn't have output reporting set right, it was flooding our SQL database with bad data, and it was just filling it up. And that took a lot of learning to kind of figure out the logic for each of these controllers to get it, and then also the ones that are Python to try and get the stuff set up right so they had the GVE reporting. And I definitely needed some significant assistance for that.
It's really
Yeah.
great, to be able to learn based on a need. And we've had other guests kind of say the same thing, is that they identify a problem that they want to solve, and that gives them the direction in terms of, here I'm going to open up the door to learning all the different parts to it and figuring out how I can come up with a solution.
Yeah, figuring out, I mean, if I just sat and I feel like I've definitely lost some of what I gained from the programming classes that I did. I did, based on that, then go take extra unauthorized programmer so that we had someone, we had another person who had it here. He has since left. Um, so then I kind of became the only one for a little bit that had EAP, and that was hard. I had to rely on AI just to make it through that class, without a doubt. And that's at least allowed me to get in, because you can't even run parts of the program without having that EAP certification. But that's allowed me to start dipping in a little bit just for some basic stuff. Like, say we had a display go bad, I might be able to update what model of display the program is looking for. Or if they had some parts of our design that still had static IP sets. And so being able, yeah, I see that reaction, and that's my reaction. Updating parts of the designs that we could be, because we have done DDNS as able, and just, host names where we're not able to do it, moving as much away from the static IPs. So updating the program so that they're now associating with those DDNS and other host names. So at least if my IP shifts, I'm better covered, but nothing too deep in the programs.
Yeah,
So
I'm
the
not a fan of static IPs, and I'm a big fan of reservations, DHCP reservations. So my IPs don't change, but I have a server who's managing them.
Well, and I've had the benefit, because of being an ongoing learner. After I did Network Plus, I did CCNA. And by having my CCNA, I was able to talk with our networking team and get access to, we are largely a Cisco house, and we are largely a converged network. So I was able to get access to ISE, to DNAC, and to Infoblocks. So I can get in and make some of my own records, and we do segmenting by VLANs, and I'm able to go in and then set my own VLANs instead of having to always have a ticket into the networking team to get some of that stuff done, and just to better understand the way some of that stuff flows then.
I think that your IT background certainly is very strong, and I think can very much enhance your ability to be able to get more involved in the programming side. Which, I mean, from a programmer standpoint, I think we always look at, the IT stuff as being more complex and more involved and potentially scary. You have that stuff under control, it sounds like, and you're so getting more involved in programming, I think, should be an easier task. But it certainly depends on the person. But what are some of the goals that you have moving forward? Are you looking to be able to um, program your own systems and kind of take that over, or just maintain them?
I'm always looking to see what more we can do in-house. Right now, some of the things that happen in our buildings that are based on Python, like we have to call in an outside integrator to do some of the fixing, some of the modifying. I would love to be able to get more of that in-house. The ultimate question becomes, what is the best, you know, studying, education, certification for value at any given time? What did I just did certified associate program manager, the CAP-M certification, because our like architect classroom designer left a couple months ago. And so I've been filling in with some of that to help design spaces, get quotes, So I figured some of that project management stuff would be helpful. And so now my next one that I'm working on is CTSD, because I had just gotten CTS um, around the beginning of summer or something. Um, so it's, justifying spending the time to learn the Python programming before I lose too much of it by just, general attrition of not using the stuff and figuring out the best way to do it. There's not, I feel like, a lot of great paths for that more intro level, like designing your own system, unless we don't have a great sandbox here to be able to just try and set up and make a base program and kind of step by step it to try and have something set up. We just don't have a space. It's on our list, but who knows, when the money and the time and the motivation for getting that set up will be. So I'm not sure the best way to try and do that gradual work in of learning more of the programming.
Any thoughts, James?
So yeah, sandboxes are definitely hard. I have spoke about them numerous times on this podcast, and I've been in my current role for 3 years now, give or take. I have yet to set up our sandbox, and it's not really in our environment. It's not the lack of the funding because I have some spare equipment I could throw in there. It's the time. That's where I'm running into the problem is the time to do it. So yeah, I don't know. If you're having a problem getting the equipment and you want to learn Python, I'll give a little trick because if anyone saw my current post on LinkedIn, I'm diving back into coding a little more at home. You can run Python code on your own computer just in terminal with Python installed. You don't need any special hardware. Yeah, maybe you can't be turning on and off displays via serial, but you can give it a shot. Like we all have a computer, so run it in your terminal.
Yeah, and you can always design, but that's the thing, is how to know if it's actually anywhere near doing what you would want it to do. I mean, that's, you can send a chunk of code to AI and say, hey, I want it to do this. AI may be very sure that it's going to do that based upon what it gives you back, but the program might not work anywhere near what the AI thinks it's going to. I mean, it's getting better, but
So
validating that it's actually, while it may look pretty, that it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do.
So how I tackled that end, I agree. Again, without the physical equipment, it's very hard. We can use our best educated guess if it's going to work. But I do a lot of printing in Python. So, like for example, I'm right now, my code is talking to my Philip Hughes system, and I'm pulling information. So it's like, all right, I want to look for the information. So I actually give it false information. Is it giving me back what I want in my print? Cool. Then it's like, okay, let me go to the next step. Let me try to connect to the system and pull data. Oh, I didn't get what I was looking for. Let me play with that a little more. Like I first give it what I want that I know I'm going to get. I simplify the data. I control, is it showing it the way I want? If you're talking about serial commands, for example, we got to make sure that, hey, serial commands are going out perfect. Cool. Print your serial command. Does it look right in the print screen? Then that kind of gives you a good idea. If it doesn't look right, maybe that's where I start massaging that until I get that looking right. And then I go, okay, now this is what I want to do.
Couple of other thoughts if that may or may not be valuable. Um, One would be to be able to have code just written as an emulator so that you can talk to a device and of course it's not going to be exactly that way, but at least it gives you something to test with. We in my career we spent a lot of time as independent programmers away from the system, and we would write as much of our code as possible at our desk, doing as much internal testing as we could. We would load it into a processor, but we wouldn't have any of the equipment that it would talk to. So we kind of had to you be resourceful, but of course the rubber hits the road when you load it into the system. But I would say we were able to get at least 80% or so before we would go and test it on site. Um, and I'm trying to think of another thought. If you were able to get into a small system that maybe you would have used configuration and write that with Python, maybe you could test it that way. Obviously, you need to be able to you need to steal a system that is either in production or is live, but it gives you an opportunity to play with something. But I would recommend taking a small system and writing that in Python, even if you would normally configure it, and that'll give you at least a good starting point that you can build off of.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, like I said, our buildings that have Python running in them, they're the ones that are the more technically
Complex.
complicated ones. So, we've got um, 2 out of 3 are, I guess, if you include our Phoenix campus, 3 out of 4 are, running Extron navs, and they're, controlling, sending a lot of different signals around. And then the fourth one is an old system that's still running AMX encoder decoders with still Extron though as the base control. And so there's just a lot more aspects to it, and where all they're sending signal and things like that. But yeah, doing it in one of our simpler spaces and just kind of doing a mock-up with Python, that's an interesting way to look at trying to get it started with fewer things in it.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot, and I hear that in um all my realm, not just programming, is, oh, I can get this. I don't need to do the basics, or hey, the basics are simple. We can get these back, but the basics are important. So you take a very small room. Hey, I just want to turn on this display and change a video switcher. Hone your skills on that with the Python. Yeah, you can get it done with a couple click on the mouse, get it done in 2 minutes. It might take you a day or two in Python, but then you start building new skills. Recently, I heard I think he's a motivator speaker now, but he was a high school basketball coach, and he was giving the story that Kobe Bryant. We all know Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players out there, very talented. Um, this coach was actually invited to a coaching camp that Kobe was at, and he got up early one morning and he's watching Kobe practice 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's running basic drills. Same drills this coach ran with his high school team. Same drills the coach ran with his rec team. 5, 6, 7 year olds. Now, yes, Kobe was doing it at a higher level, but same concept. And so the coach went up to him and go, "You're one of the greatest out here. Why are you wasting your time with the basics?" And Kobe's response was, "I am one of the greatest because I focus on the biggest basics."
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's the found you need a solid foundation, and to be able to build upon, and then you start to be able to do some of the more complicated things. But I can relate very much, Chris, to what you're saying, is that it's very hard to start with a medium size or a large size project in programming, and that used to be a challenge that we would have when we would try to bring somebody new to our team. We said we don't really get easy projects because people don't hire us for those. So if you get an opportunity to do an easy project, take advantage of it. And
Yeah,
and plus also with the road that you're going down, being able to have more influence over the design, that could really benefit you as well.
definitely. And then the last advice I would get is, even if you have a complicated project, cool, break it down in chunks. As we always say, best way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. I remember my first large scale coding project I did, all custom code and stuff. I was like lost. I was like, what? Like, how am I going to do this? This was a room with 3 projectors, 20 different locations the lecterns could be plugged in, 2 different lecterns, a lot of routing. My first thought was like, I need to turn on the projectors. I know how to do that. So I coded that first. And then just you start adding to it. And it's like a snowball effect. You add a little bit here, a bit here. And all of a sudden you got this big snowball or this big program. Or the other talk about is the flywheel. You turn the flywheel, you're turning, and then all of a sudden it gets going. Well, what got it going? Was it the first push? Was it the 100 push? You don't really know. It really, you just got to keep building on it.
The nice part about that too is once you have something that you know works, you can then use it for the next project as well. So it's, start to build your library.
Well, and I will acknowledge that a big help in learning more of those things has been my connections through HETMA. Um, that's how I first learned about, James, and then finding you guys podcast, and I'm in the Slack group, and again, still fairly new to all the things, but just looking for ways to get involved in networking and finding people to talk to. And that was how, a little over a year ago, I saw that there was a vacancy for the advisory board chair with HETMA, and just started talking with the board and jumped in. And there was not a lot going on with that position beforehand, but so I've kind of crafted it within the vision that we had. And now it's something that's happening almost weekly, and getting good connections with people from, all of HETMA's major sponsors, and um, just getting more and more involved in the community and learning about more people and finding out different things that way.
Great, great segue there. Something that we wanted to touch on, and honestly, you you use your background too. You do have a different approach than many of us. Coming from your social work background and being personable and having those people skills that goes a long way, especially, and it's different from many of the people that are very, very technical.
I will say that I I mean, I would not consider myself an extrovert by any means. College helped me gain my a part of going to school for counseling is you have to not only go in and be the counselor for people, but you have to go and get counseling as well. And then you have to record yourself doing those things, and seeing how you interact. And yeah, sometimes it's not the social skills that you have, but it's what you gain by going through a program, and learning those things that might definitely would not have been as strong before that. So uh, gaining those things, it's sort of like your gen eds or anything else. Like, it might not be the class that you wanted in college, but you're still gaining critical thinking, you're gaining social skills, you're gaining all the things from spaces that might not have been your focus.
Absolutely. That's probably a good place for us to wrap this one up, but we're definitely going to have Chris back for the next episode, so stay tuned for that. And we're going to learn more about him and some of the work that he's doing, as well as talk about some more topics related to programming. Until then, Chris, can you let our audience know how to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing at Creighton, as well as with HETMA?
Yeah, so I am available on LinkedIn as the primary place to reach out to me, as well as the HETMA community. Just advisory at hetma.org is my email address there, but super active community there on HETMA. So I would encourage anyone, if you're not a member there, go become one. It's free, always will be. And there's just a lot of things that you can learn on there, as well as, particularly if you're in the higher ed vertical, being able to attend things like our advisory board meetings and getting backstage views into things that you might not otherwise have gotten.
Very cool. And even if you're not in higher ed, you can join. I've joined, so that's something that I recommend. And it's good to have connections in many different places, as Chris has shared. James, how could people get in touch with you, and if you have any closing thoughts you wanted to share.
Again, I'd rather people get a hold of Chris, our guest, over me. I mean, we see our guests bring much more valuable information than I do, because our downloads show it. So that's great. Reach out to our guest, reach out to Chris, get connected with him. Great information from him. He's a great partner to reach out to. If you really want to get a hold of me, you can Google me, you'll find me. I'm out there. AV_James King. That's the programmer community on LinkedIn. Again, I'm out there.
And that'll be another one for you, Chris. Join if you haven't already. Join the Ask the Programmer community on LinkedIn. It's a group free and open for anybody to join, and we welcome everyone. In that group, we talk about some topics related to episodes or anything else that anybody wanted to share, and a great way to connect and build your network amongst other people that have common interests. So please join us there. For me, you can find me at Steve Greenblatt on social platforms. LinkedIn is also the primary one for me. My company, Control Concepts, is a supporter of this podcast, and we build different integrations with products as well as add functionality to support programmers in with their product projects. So please visit controlconcepts.net to learn more. If you don't already know, this podcast is available in two formats. We're on video on YouTube and audio in your favorite podcast player. Check us out in either place and leave us a rating or review or comment. We certainly want to hear from you, and we certainly want to include more guests in a variety of topics on this show. So that can only be done when we receive feedback and we hear from our audience. So please reach out to us and let us know you're out there. So thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.